wanna be like you, yeah, like you. First I heard someone like she only flex for likes.
Yeah. So no worries on that. What's up, everyone? Very first episode of our brand new podcast. I just realized we don't have a name for this podcast. So the nameless podcast, maybe like E and E or something.
E square, I don't know.
It's going to be all about fighting, all about MMA. And what a fucking perfect time to have a first episode. Just an amazing card that we had this past weekend. Little introduction. My name is Eric. Been a huge fight fan my whole life. My dad's been watching cards since, there was no girls in the UFC. When, there was no rules in UFC. It's such an amazing evolution that I feel like we've been able to watch. And then in around like 2013 or so, I linked up with an MMA coach, and he's become like a best friend. So I've been training, so I feel like I get a different perspective of as well. But at the end of the day, I'm a huge super fan. And the whole reason I asked you, Erika, to come on here with us is I heard you before say that you want to be the next Megan O'Leary. And I was like, I don't want to beg someone to talk about fighting. I want someone who wants to be, in the game, knows the game, watches the fights that aren't just the Conor Poirier fights, and watches some of the cards too. Erika, introduce yourself for us.
Well, hi, I'm Erica. I've been watching UFC. I mean, it's only a year older than me, so practically my whole life. I grew up watching it with my dad, and I know exactly what you're talking about, where it literally was like sumo wrestlers versus jiu-jitsu versus American wrestlers, and it's really cool how far it's come. Dana White was the big reason of why it is the way it is today. I mean, I grew up watching Randy Couture, Matt Hughes, BJ Penn, GSP, so been through it all. Yeah, I've always loved sports. I've been a big football junkie too, basketball, being a Spurs fan growing up in San Antonio.
I have Monday Night Football over here on the side on mute, so I can kind of like glance here.
Oh yeah, you're watching the Bears and Steelers.
Yes, Bears, Steelers.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always loved sports. My biggest dream in high school was to be a sportscaster. Random things happen in life, but here I am. I'm really excited. This is kind of like my first feel of like dipping my toe into like sports broadcasting, so I'm super excited. UFC, even though I love all sports, has always had my heart deep down. I've always just had a love for the game because it's not even a game. It's like till the death, kind of, in a sense. It's all mental. And I like that it's just a solo act. Like there's no one else really. You have your coaches, but there's no one else but your heart and your power to the punch that's really gonna.
Yeah, as soon as that door's locked, it's mano a mano or girl and girl. But no, you're totally right. Like people say, you play basketball, you play football, you don't play fighting. If you make a wrong move in there, yeah, you can get knocked out. You can lose some brain cells. You can lose an arm. You can break an arm.
You can. I mean, look at Nate Diaz. I thought his eye was gonna come out a few fights. Like.
Oh man, it's so crazy how he just doesn't care either. And this is why I love your dialogue with this, because our planning here is to talk about the UFC that happened this weekend. Amazing card. But there's so many things that you've said that I want to like piggyback on, like thinking about Dana White and how much of this is something that we always hear too, is you can't go to school and study to be a fight promoter.
Right.
You have to it's a learn on the job thing. And he's taken this sport from, human cockfighting to now there's unified rules, now there's a uniform that you wear. Now the richest athlete in Forbes is a UFC fighter. And I'm even rocking my UFC Texas shirt. It's a little faded because I wear it all the time. I love rocking it. But that's so awesome. I got a bunch of notes here because I am not an awesome journalist. I just like watching fights. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. UFC 268, first time being in Madison Square Garden for 2 years. I personally would not ever fight in MSG unless I had some money already, because those taxes, man, are crazy. I would be fighting in Vegas every time, Texas, Florida. I'd be scared to fight in the Anaheim when they go to California or New York. That must be so tough.
I mean, I always think about when the most biggest fights last year were all in Dubai, you know, with COVID and everything. So it's kind of nice to have it back in the States. I gotta say that for sure. It's nice. I mean, I've always been a big fan of it being in Vegas. When I think UFC fights, I'm like, it's on my bucket list. It's to go to Vegas and watch a fight. I think of that. I don't Madison Square Garden. I think of concerts.
Right.
I don't really think of UFC. But you know what? It's like I said, I'm really happy to have it back in the States to have us kind of have a little bit of normalcy versus like I remember watching Gaethje's last fight with Khabib and like being like it's in the afternoon and I'm watching a fight. It felt
Yeah.
weird. So it was nice to like kind of.
The only cool thing about that is that you can really, you know, now that there wasn't a crowd, you can hear when Khabib was taking him and throwing him on the canvas.
Right.
It was like, oh, he's strong. This isn't just, you know, a game. Like he's really doing it. But same here, the crowd, the energy. We won't go into all the chants that were being said, but the energy was just amazing, and I cannot imagine that feeling. The closest I've ever gotten is, and this is a tangent that I didn't think that we were going to get on, but in 2011, 2010, one of those years, my high school played, Madison played Steel on ESPN, and it was like the inaugural Heroes Stadium game, and there was like 13,000 people there, and it was such a aura. Like it made you play better, it made you focus more, you know, or at least the people that rise to the occasion. It makes you focus more, you know. Yeah, you feel like going to the bathroom and throwing up a little bit before, but that's good, you know.
Yeah, well, I think wasn't it one of the first? I mean, I think the Gaethje and Ferguson fight was like the first like sporting event with COVID, and again, there was like nothing but just the commentators there. And I remember them, Joe Rogan saying like, I wonder how this is going to be that they're not going to have fans just chanting like that. There's nobody here. Like it's literally just like your coach is just yelling at you.
You're in the gym.
Yeah, you're in the gym. You're sparring kind of, you know. So like I said, it's nice to kind of see like celebrities being out and just everybody really enjoying the fight instead of just looking at the empty crowds or like the fake animatronic like fans, you know, like what they did with baseball.
Football did that too, or basketball. I think they all did. Even like WWE did, where there were like virtual fans going in or pump crowd noise in.
Yeah.
Like what in the Vietnam is this? But back to what you were saying about the Gaethje Ferguson fight being the first fight. That's back to Dana White being just the mogul. And you know what were the barriers to having that fight? Well, everybody's got to get tested. Well, how much is the test? Times amount of all the employees, like that had to have been a logistical nightmare. And I've never seen him look like the stress has overcame him. It's so motivating to see how he does business and how he just continues to go. And I'm like, oh man, my work isn't that bad. You know, like, there's not thousands and thousands of employees that are riding on my every decision. And just round of applause for that. I like starting with the money. I like talking business. The $50K bonuses.
Well, that goes into the Gaethje Chandler fight. That was it really reminded me. Hey, hold on.
We are a dog friendly show here.
Hey, sorry, my bad. At one point,
no, you're good.
To switch bones. At one point, they have to switch their.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, speaking about Gaethje and Chandler, that fight, it really reminded me of kind of like early like 2010s like UFC like versus like Sanchez and Diego Sanchez and Clay Guida, like where it was like pound for pound. That's what it reminded me. It was a big stand-up game.
That's a really good comparison.
I was kind of like, okay, is there going to be any like wrestling? Because I mean, they're both pretty good wrestlers, but it was a really good fight, and I mean, they both like really just like to hit each other's faces that fight.
Yeah, and it looks like they flirted with the wrestling a little bit, but for the most part, they were just going to war. And I don't watch every Bellator card, I'll admit that, because they do it on Fridays, and like Saturday comes and I'm like, shit, there was a Bellator fight yesterday. I don't see as much, and I follow Bellator on social media too. I don't see as much like media coverage when they do like a promotional coverage when they have a fight coming up.
Yeah, I mean that marketing is huge. I agree. I don't see as much social media presence. I don't see as much advertising. When you think MMA, you think UFC. You don't even think anything else.
Right. If somebody
Which
did like one fighting, they'd be like, no, there's no such thing.
right. But I was looking for it because Chandler did pretty well with the Oliveira fight. I mean, we know the result of that. But because he did really well in
Dan
that other
Hooker fight. He took out Dan Hooker.
Right. But I mean, I think he's coming out swinging on both of these fights with Gaethje and with Oliveira because he has so much to prove, right? He's like now in the UFC, this is like his NFL, his MLB. Like this is like, okay, I'm ready. And I feel he's not doing bad performances. He's just not getting those decisions.
Right. And I really don't think his stock goes down a lot. I mean, I definitely don't think, I think he has 2 or 3 fights before he gets back to the top of the hill again. But man, I'm going to buy the next pay-per-view that Chandler goes on. He was my favorite fighter in Bellator. Mm-hmm. I loved I follow him on Instagram, and he's always putting like workouts, and I'm always like writing notes on the workouts. It's like, I got to look like Michael Chandler. And such an amazing fight. Rock'em sock'em robots, but there was still so much technique. You know, like it wasn't just a backyard brawl or something. Like these guys were performing at the highest level.
Right.
And I remember Henry Hoof, Chandler's coach, was like getting a little pissed off. He's like, man, I know you want to slug it out, but be calculated, be technical, have some strategy with it. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm going to go ahead and get this $50K bonus. Thank you. Super close. So 94 significant punches for Justin Gaethje, 88 for Chandler. So that's only a 6-punch difference. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you could tell that Gaethje was the stronger fighter, I mean, look at Michael Chandler's face. I mean, they both went to the hospital after.
Right.
But I want to see it again.
Yeah, no, like I 100% agree with what you're saying. This isn't like, oh my gosh, like Cowboy Cerrone. I'm so sorry, he's a great fighter, but his last few fights that he's lost, you're like, I don't really care to see him on another.
My favorite fighter, and I'm like, dude.
But I don't feel that way with Chandler. I'm not like, oh, we're gonna see him fight again. I'm like, okay, you know what? Like, I mean, he literally was put on to the ringer. He got like the best fighters right out the gate. It's not like he's fighting someone that's like low in the card, and I think he's doing great. I think both performances are great, so I'm really excited to see what he'll do next too.
That's big, no tune-up, which I'm sure if he was like, hey, Dana, give me someone to kind of like build my name or whatever, he was like, throw me to the dogs. Dan Hooker's a dog. Charles Oliveira is the fucking champ. Justin Gaethje might be the scariest fighter not named Francis Ngannou. Like, it's incredibly scary. What the biggest thing that I think that fight showed me is that Khabib's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like Khabib almost had Gaethje in a submission at the end of the first round, and then actually sinks it in the second round.
I really, really enjoy watching him fight. It's so technical, and I love how like he won't really say much leading up to the fight. While he's no, I think like while he's kicking your ass, like while you were talking shit this whole time fighting Khabib, he won't say much, and then he's in the ring and he's like, I told you I was gonna be the shit out of you. And I love that. He's like, I'm gonna tell you when I'm in your fucking face, not like
while you're trying to breathe and gasp for air. I'm just gonna remind you that this isn't for you.
But I mean, I think he was just built like mentally, physically, just to be this fighter.
I mean, how many people come out of Dagestan? Dagestan in Russia wrestling in general, I mean, it's things of legends, like Yoel Romero has a story about going to Dagestan and training with those guys back when he was still in Cuba in that wrestling circuit. And he was like, oh, these guys are different. The performance of the night, and this wasn't on the main card, but I feel like he's such a big name that we had to talk about it. Chito Vera knocking out Frankie Edgar.
I was so excited to see Frankie Edgar. I have not seen that name on a card in a long time, so I was super excited. And then for that to happen, I was like, what? I mean, I was at a bar watching it, so people were just like walking past. I'm like, no, like move. I'm trying to like watch this fight. And I mean, people were like, why is she so into like this? Isn't even like who the heck? I'm like, you don't know who Frankie Edgar is because you're not a real fan. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was just like, who is this person knocking out Frankie Edgar? I mean, this guy is known for knockouts, and he's getting knocked out. Like it was insane.
Like one of his biggest positives about him is that his chin. He's never been knocked out.
Yeah.
And his last 2 fights were knockouts. I love the guy. I think it's time to retire, honestly.
Yeah, I think we all have that struggle. I think athletes have that itch of like, I can keep going. I can keep going. I mean, look at Brett Favre. I mean, he could have ended out a legend.
Retired 4 times.
Go to the Vikings, go to the Jets, and we're like, Brett Favre, we love you, but like, we're trying to get you into the Hall of Fame. Like, just retire, you know?
Yeah. Here's Alice. Here's Alice in here.
Aww.
100% what you're saying, because I mean, I've technically been like retired, football since 2012, and I've played semi-pro before. I'm doing jiu-jitsu competitions. Hey, I just talked about how good you're being.
No, but I get what you're saying. Being an athlete, I don't think that's such an identity for everybody. Especially, I can't even imagine when you finally make it pro. I mean, it's just so small percentage, even if you make college, like anyone who's an athlete, like that's just a big accomplishment. And I think, like I said, it's just so much of you. I mean, these people have trained their whole lives almost, and to be like, okay, it's time to let go. And not just their whole lives, but like, let's just say just training for a year, that's probably like 70% of your life of that year was training. Imagine times 10 years, times 15 years, whatever the case may be. It's hard to let that go. It's hard to like go back into routine of like normalcy of like, okay, I just get up and I don't have to eat. I don't have to go to the gym, or I don't have to eat this many carbs, or whatever the case may be.
Exactly.
And so I just think it's just hard to let that go. But I agree. I think it's time for him to put his big point.
It's so tough because he's such a good fighter. I've had my eye on him for a while. I did gymnastics at like 4 years old, and then baseball, and then basketball, and then football for like 12 years. It's like I've been encouraged to compete and to hit people my whole life. And now you're gonna
I think that's really hard. I ran track, but I definitely wasn't super passionate about it. I loved it, don't get me wrong, but to have a passion in something, I can't imagine just letting that go. I've had friends who have played baseball their whole lives and even got to play college. And I remember hearing them being like, it sucks that I know I'm probably not gonna, this is the end. Like, I know that this is where it's gonna stop. So I feel for athletes. I know that's just not easy, but I agree. I mean, I think you have to think about your families at the end of the day, especially this is such a contact sport. There's no helmet like there is in
and then
football.
2 back-to-back knockouts, like concussions,
Right. I mean, they've done that research too with football players and having those injuries really catch up to them later, and how they're having, I mean, they're killing themselves, because they're going crazy mentally. And so I really fear for our athletes in the UFC, because not fear, but I really hope they think, hey, you know what? My performance isn't the way it was a few years ago. Maybe it is time. I want to end on a good note. I mean, Khabib is ending on a good note, right? We're not going to be like, oh, wow, like he got knocked out by who or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Anderson Silva. The last 2 fights, you're like, oh, but you're Anderson Silva. I want to cheer for you, but like, I don't even want to see you on a card. And before it was like, Anderson, the Spider-Man Silva, like I'm so excited. And so I just don't want them to lose that legacy anymore.
Exactly. Like, I mean, look at Chuck Liddell, who is top 5 my favorite fighters. And again, another one, just like Frankie Edgar, who was known to have just an ice jaw, that was just like, you can't knock this guy out. And now he gets jabbed and the guy's dizzy, and it's so sad to see and sad to talk about too, because like that what is that movie called with Will Smith, where they do like,
I know that's exactly what I was thinking, but I cannot remember the name of the movie, but I did go see that movie.
I purposely never seen that movie. Don't tell me about it. I never want to see that movie. I hate looking at CTE statistics, because then I'm laying down at night and I'm like, I've had that symptom.
My dad was like, my dad had only girls. That's all my dad has. So I'm the closest thing he has to a boy. I sparred with him. Huh?
Is he an athlete?
He played football and basketball.
You say the athlete's curse to only have girls.
Yeah, my dad had all girls, but I mean, I was the one, like, I watched the fights with him every summer. we'd be watching the NBA finals together.
Nice.
I would be catching pop flies off the roof. Like I was my dad's son basically.
That's awesome.
But anyway, I was like, I would tell my dad, I was like, yeah, I would love to fight. My dad's like, you're too pretty to fight. I'm so sorry. He's like, just don't mess up your face. He was like, maybe if you're a little uglier, I would be like, sure, sweetheart, you should fight. I'm like, thanks, Dad.
That's a great segue. Ever since Rose cut her hair, she's like the prettiest, scariest girl that I've ever seen in my life. Like,
yeah,
such an amazing fight. Just a couple of months ago, it felt like that they fought that first time.
The last time they fought, I think that was the Masvidal and Usman fight, right? It was on that card.
I know it was another like 2 or 3 title fight card.
Yeah.
Man, scary knockout that first time, because I think she was when she was like, you know, yelling at the referees and stuff like that. I think she was out. Like, I think she was just like in a post, not unconscious, but not all there either, you know, like almost like a zombie thing. She's like, what are you talking about?
It's kind of like when you're first waking up, you're like, you're up, but you're not up.
Oh, 100%. It's such a, I couldn't imagine waking up and there's like 50,000 fans and bright lights and you're just trying to breathe and, you know, like that must be the craziest thing. But this fight did not upset.
It was a very, very close fight, honestly.
Yeah.
I was super excited because it's hard pronouncing it. Zhang. I'm just gonna say Zhang. I'm just gonna.
Zhang's okay. Yeah, it's like
okay.
Zhang.
Zhang.
Weili.
Weili. Okay, so she was training with Henry Cejudo, I was super excited about that. He is one of the best wrestlers in America. I mean,
if not the best, you know, unless DC has something to say about it.
Right, but I was super excited that she was training with him. I was like, okay, so I'm thinking lots of takedowns, and there were great takedowns from her. And there was, I mean, I was watching some highlights today, and pretty much every round it was pretty much almost even in leg kicks, even in like light kicks, light punches, and jabs. I think for sure, Weili for sure won round 1. I think with that takedown, I mean, she was coming out swinging. I mean, I think she had like 10 or more on Rose on those like landed hits. But I mean, I think she was just, I don't know if she just wasted her energy, because by round 3, it was like Rose just kind of got in the swing of things and was like landing harder.
Yeah. I mean, she says it before the fights. I'm the best. I'm the best. That's so like, I get goosebumps like every time I hear her do that. I'm just like, oh my God, you are the best.
I'm not gonna lie. Out of these fights that we're talking about, I did bet against for her to lose. Not bet, but I called that she was gonna lose.
Yeah, she was Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, she was an underdog, which is crazy to me because she kicked her head into oblivion last time. You know, like all respect to Jane, but I thought it was gonna come off at some point. Like that would have been a goal in soccer. You know, like that was. It's scary to see, you know.
But I mean, like Rose, really, she is one of those that she can read fighters throughout time. I mean, because when she was getting taken down in round 1 and round 2, she was just trying to escape. By round 3, she was kicking and playing more of a defense game in those takedowns. She's like, okay, you might win points taking me down, but I'm gonna try to knock you out if you're gonna take me down. So she's a really good just reading other fighters and seeing like, you know what, this time around I'm gonna do this. She's really good at her adjusting her game, where I feel like Zhang just kept playing that same playbook where she was like, okay, a few swings, a few kicks, and then we're gonna take her down. And Rose was like, okay, you know what? Let me I noticed that she did this the last round. Let me adjust. And I think if she did some adjustments in her game plan, it could have been a different fight for her. Again,
it was close. It was close.
What was it? Like 48-47. Very, very close.
Yeah. That, you know, and it's also
if you're gonna go the distance, you gotta win the last round. I'm a strong believer if you lose the last round, that's the freshest on the judge's mind.
Yeah, the judges suck.
And judges, I mean, I think they picked right. I mean, again,
100% I do too. But you know, there's so often where someone makes a really strong push, like you said, in late in rounds, and it all of a sudden changes their outlook on the whole fight.
Right. It's like, wow, this person really was aggressive that whole fight, but then they kind of lost gas in the last round, and then it comes to decision. They're like, oh, well, that last round they did awesome. I mean, again, it's the freshest on their mind. You know, they're not going to remember that big nasty jab you hit in the second round. They're going to remember that you got your ass kicked in the last round, you know?
Exactly.
So again, it was a great fight. Like I said, lots and lots of kicking, lots and lots of kicking. I'm pretty sure their legs are bruised up. But
the post-fight interview with your girl Megan, and she was asking her when she wanted to go back in the octagon again, and she's like looking down at her legs.
Like, when is this gonna heal?
Whenever I get healed up, and I'm like, man, you know that girl's in pain. But no, amazing fight. Best of luck to them. I heard her talk about Carla Esparza, and I think that would be a great fight for her. Only because Carla was the first champion in that division, and Rose does have a loss to her. So it'd be great. I think Carla's another one, to be honest, where I would like to see her retire. The women's MMA is still so young though.
Right.
Like the same names that you saw, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you kind of still see them almost still fighting each other, So it's almost like, is Dana keeping her on the roster because he thinks that she has another title shot, which I mean she's been doing well,
right?
Or is he just like, we need names, we need girls with names,
Right.
Like,
I think people like Rose and people like young fighters, and I think women are seeing like, we can do this too. We can make a name for ourselves too.
Yeah.
And they're tiny. I mean, how much is I think she's about my weight, honestly.
115, right? I believe.
Yeah.
That's
how much I weigh.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of showing like, you don't have to be this big, stocky, masculine looking woman. You can still be petite and do some nasty things.
Fighters don't look like Cyborg anymore.
Right.
Like even Amanda Nunes, like she's definitely, feminine, she's scary, and I would never do anything to upset her, but she still has very feminine qualities. And it's so funny, random tangent again. I was watching an embedded once where she's down in ATT, and she just looks like so happy being a mom. Like the way that she talks to her wife and talks to her kids just looks like, man, she is an amazing person who can just probably kill most people in the US or in the world.
No, I think it's important to show like, you can still have these feminine qualities. You can still be this beautiful woman, but you can still be a badass. And I'm excited that the UFC is going that direction. Not that like in the past when the women's division was coming up that we're like, oh, I don't really want to.
Ronda was pretty too, but there's a stigma, that, still even in the weightlifting community, it's like still in 2021, women don't want to lift the weights because they feel like they're going to get bulky. Now imagine getting punched in the face. There's like, oh, now you really got to be a manly, tough, no nonsense girl, which you can be. There's definitely nothing wrong with that, but you can also be the feminine,
100%. Like I said, I would love to join an MMA gym, and I think it's going to be really funny. They're going to probably look like, who is this girl? MMA gym. But you know what? Like, women can do so much, and I'm so glad that doors are opening up, and it's not just this stigma of like, oh, maybe she's gay, or maybe she's, it's like women can love sports too, and I'm so excited that we're going in that direction, and women can want to fight too, and women can want to prove themselves. I mean, even in, I think, I don't really watch WWE, but it was called the Divas Champ, and now it's called the Women's Champ, I think.
Oh, really? So I don't really watch it either, but I remember them calling them like divas.
Yeah, and now it's more like, no, this is a women's division. So I'm glad that it's no longer like, okay, no, like this is like our kind of our spin-off, our fun thing. Like, no, like they are athletes as well. Right.
It's not just like a circus show,
right?
Or like a Vegas, like a I don't want to say like strip kind of thing, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm getting at here? Like, it's not a beauty pageant, I think is a better word for me. It's athletes performing at the highest level.
Yeah, and even if a girl wants to, like, I mean, like Rose has no hair, right? Like, even if you want to be in that apparel, like that's fine. That's fine. Like, I just think it's so awesome that they're on a main card now. Like before, it was just like, oh yeah, preliminary. So to see that we're getting main cards and that we're excited to see, I mean, Nunes, like people are excited. I have grown men telling me like, oh man, that girl's a badass. So I'm just so excited for what's to come in this division, and hopefully more girls who are just interested in fighting, because I mean, fighting teaches you great discipline, 100%. Again, like I hope one day to budget enough to get into it, but I just hope people just don't judge a book by its cover. If a girl likes sports, if a girl wants to fight, like that's their passion, and we shouldn't be questioning. And I'm super excited to see what's going to come.
I love it, and I'm glad you spoke on it, because I could say whatever I want about it. You are actual female who loves sports, you know, so you have a first, you know, me secondhand, like, yeah, no, I love women, you know, but like you definitely have a more anecdotal experience from it. So I'm so glad you said that.
I've had mixed reviews of like girls always tell me, man, men must love you. You love sports. And I've actually had quite the opposite effect. I've had a lot of guys get frustrated, or I've had a guy literally tell me, you emasculate me with your knowledge of sports. And I was just so taken aback. Like, honestly, it's I've noticed it's older men that are like, that is so cool that you know sports. But men around my age, I don't know why they're so intimidated. I remember my boyfriend telling me, you need to act like a lady, and like, why don't you just help my mom in the kitchen and I'll watch the game. And I remember being like,
fuck
wait, like, yeah, I'll come back. And I came back with my own plate of nachos and I sat next to him watching the game. I was like,
yeah,
no. I helped myself in the kitchen and I'm gonna be watching.
No, hell yeah, I'm all for it. Do I do a fist? I'm all for it.
But you know, like I really hope. I think we're now seeing, like I said, like if men want to do something that is quote unquote like more feminine, like if he wants to sew, whatever, that's cool. Who cares? If she wants to watch the game, cool. If he wants to cook, cool. If she wants to pay for dinner, cool. I just don't think there should be like a gender of like, oh yeah, that's labeled as like a girl thing or a boy thing. Like, if you like it, you like it.
I 100% agree on that. You know, like I watch some House Hunters sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll put it on. I don't know what else is super feminine, but I don't watch.
Yeah, you know, like I'm just saying, like, you know, like if someone enjoys something, I just don't think we should bring them down for enjoying it.
I 100% agree. There's still actually some more performance of the nights. Again, these are kind of like honorable mentions that they're not the biggest cards, but I definitely wanted to give them their you know, their dues on here. Chris Barnett, I've never heard of this guy in my life. Has the coolest dance moves for a chubby guy I've ever seen. And then spinning heel kick someone into oblivion. That was so cool. So deserving on that. Alex Pereira, one of the best kickboxers on the freaking planet. I'm not gonna lie, I have not really seen a lot of his fights. I have heard that he's the only person that's knocked out Stylebender. But man, the fight that he had with the Greek guy, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. It's like 5 syllables, but he didn't look bad. I saw a lot of work maybe on the cage, but he didn't get dominated. The Greek guy's weight was on him, but I mean, all that happened was it got separated. He wasn't doing any damage, and then flying knee to knock him into outer space. And then last one was Bobby Green got a bonus for beating the real estate agent Al Iaquinta. Raging Al, I love him. But man, ever since he got his realtor's license, I've seen a downswing. And I'm not 100%. I don't know the guy's life. I didn't hear about him talking about real estate until after the Khabib fight. And like, I haven't seen him have a performance like that. You know, I know he's not the biggest draw, so he needs to go, you know, hustle and make this money. And I will never knock someone for doing that. Right. I've just seen some consecutive losses since then. And that's pretty sad because, you know, I love, and this racist or is this regionist? I love the New York guys. Like I love like Chris Weidman, you know, Matt Serra, you know,
Matt Serra.
Like I love these guys, man. Even Dana White's not from New York, but he's still kind of like that New England kind of like vibe and stuff, you know. My MMA coach is from Maine. I say MMA coach, me and him haven't trained in years. He's like a really, really good friend, but like I always like refer to him as that because I don't know. I just feel like I have to, like, I can't be like my good friend Andy. I have to be like, no, sensei. He's from Maine, and has a very, very similar vibe to like Matt Serra, Dana White. It's funny because he's got the bald head rocking too. So it's cool getting on a tangent. But now the main event.
Main event.
Main event. I will say that I've been a Kamaru Usman hater forever. I watched the what's it called, the Ultimate Fighter, where they did like Black Zillions versus ATT, and I was like, so my MMA coach, again, my friend Andy, he actually trained at ATT with Matt Brown, you know, who is at every single fight, every single weekend. His like airline miles must be like out the window. But I was like, man, I don't really like how the Black Zillions are moving. Like, I feel like you know, ATT is almost like Rocky, and you know, Dolph Ziggler is the Black Zillions, you know. But he keeps proving me wrong. He keeps showing that he is the stud in the welterweight division. And I always feel like that's the division that I fight at when I do jiu-jitsu.
I mean, he hasn't lost since 2013. He's 19-1.
What else do you even have to say, you know?
Right.
I do think Colby Covington, I like Colby too, by the way. I like the shtick. The only thing, and it's so funny because I have notes here. This is for the camera. And like, I'm going like a little bit here and then a little bit here. And then like a little bit, I'm going like out of the order that I wanted to go in. But I love method actors. Like, I love, you know, Heath Ledger in The Joker, or when Shia LaBeouf did The Tax Collector. You know, I heard Shia LaBeouf off camera at a dinner got into a fight with someone in the rival gang, The Tax Collector, because he was just still in character. I love shit like that. And I feel like the reason why Colby has so many haters is because we kind of have a feeling that outside the octagon, he's the sweetest guy on the planet, you know? And then he like turns it on there, which is fine. Again, I still like the shtick, but like, look at someone like Chael Sonnen, who—
Oh, he reminds me so much of Chael Sonnen. I'm so glad he said that. That's what
but like Chael he talks shit, but he would say like mean streets of Oregon, you know, and it was like, I still believe that was him. I still, you know, to this day, I feel like
yeah, you still think like that is the genuine him. That's like, this is not a show.
Like, maybe he pumped it up a little bit for business, but like, I feel like I could go see him at Texas Roadhouse and he'd be talking the same shit, you know, and of course, maybe like a friendlier manner. But like, I feel like Colby doesn't have, like, he's not, I don't think he's going to Roadhouse in a Trump hat. You know, like, I think maybe he goes and sees Trump in a Trump hat, or goes to a military event and puts it on for cameras, and then kind of is like, okay, this is going to stir up some controversy. The camera's off, so I'm just going to put it to the side. An amazing fight, though, nonetheless. I don't think it was as close as the first fight.
No.
I think he landed some good hits, but he didn't have the output. Kamaru's so strong. He looks like a tank in there.
I mean, he's literally beaten Masvidal too, which is like, what, bad motherfucker, right? Like, I mean,
he solidified. He has the belt.
yeah, I mean, he's a badass. He's strong, and when he hits, it's with purpose. It's not just to rank up those points. It's not just to show aggression. It's like, I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to make you suffer. I think in this fight, I just think he was just strong in every fight. He has such a high endurance, and I think Colby didn't kind of find his taking until about round 3. I think he played it really cautious that first round. I think he was like, okay, let me kind of get a feel, and I think he was still a little awkward in the second. And by the third was his strongest round for sure. I mean, he really landed some hard kicks and punches. And I think right before the bell, he really hit him good too on that third round. But I think because he caught up so late in that groove is really what kind of made it to where, he lost.
I will say that he did take down Kamaru. They say that there was no takedown and he still has not been taken down. I am going to have to side with my wrestling guys like DC, Chael, that's 2 points. If two knees hit the ground, that's 2 points. Yeah, would I like him seeing him to control him more after the takedown? Absolutely.
Right.
But I think that's a takedown in my book. I don't know. That's kind of like a moral victory, right? Like he still kind of got his ass kicked the whole fight. His face looked worse in the last one. To be completely honest, I know he says that he didn't break his jaw. I think he got his jaw broken last time, and he was like, "Man, I really don't want to get my jaw broken again because that should hurt."
Yeah. No, I mean, Usman is a great fight. I don't even know really where he goes from here, to be honest. I'm kind of like, I mean, he's just beating so many people in the division. I mean, I'm guessing it's maybe if Edwards win versus the Masvidal fight because he's already defeated him. I'm just like, I don't know. Part of me was like, is he just gonna stay in this division, just keep beating everyone, or does he want to challenge himself and maybe go up a weight class? I don't know. I'm just kind of like
lean, but I don't know what he walks around at, outside of competition.
I mean, look at Adesanya, right? He's beating everyone, and then he decided to go up against Jan, and I mean, it went the distance, but he definitely got his ass kicked in that.
Yeah.
Up that weight class. But I'm just kind of curious, like, would he have that same itch of like, I'm tired of beating everyone in this let me kind of try something else. And that's a true badass. If you can have two belts in two different weight class, that's
legends.
Exactly. I'm just kind of curious if he has that itch or not.
Gilbert Burns is one of my favorite fighters in the division, and I know he's already beat him. I don't think it should be the next fight, or even maybe the next fight after that. There's Gilbert Burns. I know everybody's high on. I'm so sorry, brother. I don't know how to say your name. Kamayev.
Mm-hmm.
Kamayev. I'm gonna put his name actually out here. Amazing fucking fighter. He only has a few fights in the UFC, but at the same time, Usman's beat everybody, so why not throw in some fresh blood? I wouldn't mind seeing Wonderboy Thompson either, though. Like I know he's taken some L's. It's got another one of those guys who had a great chin and now he's getting knocked out.
Right.
But I mean, he went 5 rounds. Was it 5 rounds? He went the distance with Gilbert Burns, and I really do feel like Gilbert Burns is one of the best 170 pounders in the world right now. But you're right. I can see. I mean, he's got so much muscle.
Right. I feel like with Adesanya, I'm just kind of like, when he did go up, I was like, I just don't think that's going to work for him, and just the way his body frame is. But I think with Usman, he can build up that muscle and still hit that. Like you hit him or he hits you, and it still hurts even up a weight class. So
and he hasn't really gotten a hit. I mean, yeah, Colby hit him a couple of times with some good shots, but I mean, Jorge didn't hit him with any good shots. Like I feel like for the most part, he's kept his health to the point where it's like his chin will probably still stand up to those 85ers like Paulo, that are out here drunk kicking people's asses,
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just curious. I think, I don't know, me personally, I've never been an athlete, but I am very competitive, and I feel like I would just be bored if I was like, I'm beating everyone. And like I said, like Adesanya, I think he had that same like, all right, I want to prove this. And I just think Usman
same thing.
Might be like, you know what? Let me prove that I'm seriously a bad motherfucker. Let me like go up a weight class and beat the shit out of everyone there too. So I mean, who knows? I'm just kind of excited to see what goes on, because like that weight class, I mean, he really has beaten everyone that's a contender for that.
No, 100%. There's some fights coming up too. I took a picture because I got into a meeting as soon as I was trying to write this down. Max Holloway's about to fight. I can't fucking wait. Against Yair Rodriguez, who's someone who I've, being from Mexican descent, you always want to root for, like the Canelos, the people that are out there representing for us, and Yair's he's so good, and he just is not fighting for some reason, it feels like him and Dana have some sort of like beef, So I'm excited for that fight. Tough fight to come back with, man. I think Dana's like, oh, you want to talk shit? Okay, we're gonna give you Max Holloway. We're gonna give you Max Holloway. Good luck keeping up with that. That's gonna be a beautiful fight. Misha Tate. Misha Tate fights again.
That's another name. Like I've heard Misha Tate since what Ronda Rousey days. Like it's like I'm ready for some new women coming in the division. But hey, Misha Tate is great.
She's still young too. Like I thought she would have been, and this is because I was so young when I first saw her. I was like, man, she has to be in her 40s by now. Like she, and she's still, I don't know her exact age, but I mean, she looks leaner than ever before. She looks just as fast. She is cutting promos like, like a star, like a pro. So it's exciting seeing her. I remember in the lead up to the last fight, I was showing Amanda a bunch of like old Ultimate Fighter things. I was like, everybody, I feel like if you don't watch fighting, you think Ronda Rousey is just like the sweetest chick in the world. Like, I mean, just mean. And so I like pulled up a bunch of like vids of her just like flipping off Misha and just talking shit. And I was like, yeah, we're hyping up this fight for sure. Rob Font against Jose Aldo, I think that's going to be amazing. Both of those fighters are amazing. Aldo's having like a revival in his career. I don't know how he did that. After the Conor fight, I was like, no, is he done? And then Max Holloway beats him twice. I'm like, dude, this is like the craziest fighter in the world. And he's going through like the biggest lull. I'm glad he stayed like mentally confident,
right,
to get back in there. Because again, athletes, I feel like we're so like you said earlier, we put so much of our identity into being faster than people, being stronger than people. Shit that like when you go into a corporate job means nothing. And it's like, man, I'm glad Aldo can bounce back from that mentally.
Right.
Be like, I just got to go back to the drawing board. I just have to do more work.
I'm gonna let the other one. You're good. Well, I'm excited for the December big fight card.
Honestly. Oh, the December 11th one?
Yeah.
Oh my God. So that's
the way to end the year.
That's the biggest one. Dustin Poirier, who's had an amazing 2021, amazing 2020. I mean, he might have another one that I felt like had a revival, who I've seen back in the, God, what was that documentary called? It was like a Vice documentary. And Dustin Poirier, who had a shaved head. He looked like just kind of like a badass out of Louisiana, and now he's like, buy my hot sauce, and then while I beat the fuck out of all these fighters, and then Charles Oliveira is no joke either. He's been again, another person that if you don't watch fighting, you might not know of, but he's been in the division forever.
Yeah, for a long time.
He paid his dues in the division. I cannot fucking wait on that. I do have one more honorable mention. The kid from Ireland had a great promo. Ian Gary, I had to look up his name. I didn't know who that was until like 3 days, or maybe like Thursday or Friday. He went on Ariel Helwani's show. And I think my favorite journalism in the game, not named John Anik, Megan Levy, I think Ariel was right up there. His insight is so technical. Like it's almost like he's a fighter. He knows so much, like technique wise. But he starches this guy almost the exact way that Conor did in the other MSG card, where he takes out Eddie Alvarez, with like that step back, and then like right crossover there. But that's his first UFC fight. He needs to chill the fuck out with being the best ever. Definitely honorable mention though. And if he hears, don't come over and beat my ass.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm really glad, because there's some fights where it's like, I'm glad that we're having more than just one fight to look forward to. Like I think the past few years it was like, oh yeah, of course I want to see this big main card, but I really don't care about the other ones. Like, do I really want to go out or spend $70 at home? So I'm really glad the past few fights cards have been like, no, these are some heavy hitters. Like all of these cards have like more than one fight that I'm really excited for. Even some in preliminary. I'm excited to see Dominic Cruz fight again too. There's just like some people that are like, you're like, oh wow, like they might not even be on the main card, but you're like, I'm willing to stay up all night to watch these other fighters that I haven't seen in a while, like Frank Edgar. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting to it's just like I said, like it's not just like, oh, one fight. All right, I guess I'll just wait for like tomorrow just to see like what happened. I'm glad that they're kind of going in that direction now.
Who's your favorite fighter right now?
My favorite fighter right now. O'Malley. I've been really liking his fight.
It was okay. I wasn't expecting Sugar something.
And I really have been liking Brandon Moreno. I was watching him since his Ultimate Fighting days. I remember he was literally like the second lowest ranking seed.
Yeah.
And to see him having the belt now, I got emotional when he won. And so I'm excited to see their rematch again.
Yeah, it's going to be so exciting.
So, I mean, those are kind of like my favorite fighters right now. And
yeah.
yours?
Well, it's always Cowboy Cerrone because I love the attitude. I listen to like his podcast. He's been on Joe Rogan, and I love that and this is terrible. Don't do this, people that are watching, but I love that he'll do it in a bar. I love how he's like, what, bro, what did you say? Little leg kick. But right now, and minus all the allegations, or not even allegations because it was proven, but TJ Dillashaw, I love TJ Dillashaw. I love the way he fights. I think he's the most skilled fighter and the highest competitor ever. Stop getting caught doing drugs.
Yeah. I mean, there's him, John Jones. Like, come on, guys. Like,
and John Jones
are we as fans look forward to seeing you, and kids who are wanting to be fighters look up to you. It's just not good. It's like Barry Bonds days where it's like, wow, like here's his grand slam hitter, and now all we're gonna think now is steroids. You know what I mean? Like you're really just losing the touch of your name now. So and you're losing your legacy, really.
Reputation and legacy. Yeah, I feel like it would actually hurt my heart when I heard that, because it was like, and I've been in sports forever. 90% of people are taking steroids. So I'm not even really mad at that, to be completely honest. I was like, oh, I'm not going to see him for a few years. I was a selfish fan of me that I was like, oh, he's going to be put on the shelf for a couple of years. I really like Corey Sandhagen too.
Sandhagen, he's the one that just beat Wonderboy, right?
No, so he beat Frankie Edgar and then lost to TJ. And then I think he just lost again like 2 weeks ago. I cannot remember the fight. This is taking away all my journalistic integrity because I don't remember the last fight. That I remember, I follow him on Instagram, and I remember him being like, what a tough road. I'll be back, blah, 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 which you always love.
Honestly, fighters, if you had to take a drug, just take pot. Just do a Nate Diaz.
That's the reason why I'm not too mad about the TJ thing, because it wasn't a steroid necessarily. Again, not to go into a weird drug tangent. It is a performance enhancer for sure. But like I think the main reason why steroids are illegal in fighting is because the stronger you are, the more damage you can do. And he wasn't necessarily getting stronger, indirectly maybe, because it's like, okay, he had more energy to work out for a longer period of time. So then he builds muscle, indirectly. I didn't have a better word for that. I was trying not to reuse that word, but yeah, no, it's tough. Do you have any closing words for the fans?
Just that I'm excited in the direction that UFC is going. I'm excited for, like, if these are such great fight cards that we're having this year, I'm super excited for next year. I'm super excited that the fans are back in the crowds, and I'm honestly hoping this next card has a knockout. I haven't seen like a really good knockout in a while.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping someone's gonna hit the snooze
button. It's a great
button.
time to be a fight fan.
Oh yeah, great time. It's a great time to, like, either if you've been a fight fan forever to get back into it, or if you're just new to it. Like, UFC is, I think, the fastest growing sport right now.
Yeah, I was born in '93, so it's 28. It's so beautiful to see how far it's came. I'm glad we haven't had any crazy injuries like we had, you know, in bare knuckle and stuff like that. On Masvidal's card. We'll talk about that maybe another time though.
No, like I mean, we're finally getting to the point where we're hitting close to 30 years in the game.
Yeah.
That like we're having Hall of Famers now, you know, and so I'm excited.
We're on your shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, it's on ESPN now. It's with the big boys. It's not, you know, Fox or Spike.
Right. Oh my gosh, I remember Spike UFC days. Yeah, that's
Fuel
crazy.
TV, you know, like there are all those like random shows that were like, there's another one too, like Access TV, stuff like that, where it's just like, I'm glad I can just, it's a little bit more political now.
You can only stream through ESPN Plus. There's not really like pay-per-view. So I'm just glad how far it's come. I'm excited for how much bigger it's going to be, and I'm ready for these December fights to come out with a bang.
Bam, bang, boom.